Well, I'm going to welcome all of you to Dress for Success. I actually added a new subtitle to this, From Attire to Hire. I'm going to walk you through talking about what you can do to help you prepare for an interview. First impressions are huge, particularly when you're interviewing for opportunities. And I'm John Beck, I'm the Director of Career Development and Academic Advising. This is my 8th year at Spring Arbor, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of these tips with you. I'll show you these few slides, and then we actually have some models that will be participating in showing you whether some good or some bad. And this is also an opportunity for you as an audience to participate and give some feedback on what the individuals did. Before we get started, I want to open this up in prayer. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for our participants here and the students that are in the audience. And we ask you to be with them as they prepare for their careers and serving you. I also thank you for our volunteers and just again ask you to be with them. And may this week honor and glorify you. And it's in your name. Amen. So, first impressions, I think, is the most important piece. In fact, in another presentation I was slide that within the first couple of minutes, 2 minutes, 55% of the employer's decision is based on appearance if they're going to hire you. 55%. That's huge in the first 2 minutes. So it's not what you said, it's how you appear to them. And how you look and how you present, I think, is again so crucial when you approach that employer when you walk in. The other things to keep in mind is make sure your cell phone is turned off. I've had this happen in interviews that I've conducted, that their cell phone went off. Or at least put it on vibrate, but I would encourage you just to completely turn it off. Also, try not to chew gum or have mints or any of that in your mouth. I have done mock interviews with individuals, and they did have a mint in their mouth, and they started to choke on it when they were answering the question. That does not always look good during an interview, so I want to encourage you, please don't chew gum or mints. Also, when you first meet them, smile and look them in the eyes. It's really important with each person, because it may be one person, it could be a panel that you're doing an interview with. So you want to make eye contact with each individual. And then a firm handshake. I want to encourage you, don't have a sweaty hand, either, your palm. I tend to like to have a handkerchief in my pocket. Sometimes I'll make sure I get rid of that sweaty palm before I give a good firm handshake. Guys, it's important to have a firm handshake when you're meeting a woman. Of course, you don't want to kill their hands and overdo it, but you still need a firm handshake even when you're shaking hands with women. So let's get into the nut and bolts. Suits. This is probably the most important piece of your attire when you're introducing yourself and interviewing. I typically would encourage you to have a navy or charcoal, maybe a light gray, but I think again it's going to depend on who you're interviewing with. Maybe some browns, but it's not as common. You can have a black, but you don't want a straight black suit. You want to have a pinstripe in it, whether it's a blue, maybe a gray or something like that. A straight black is going to be more for a formal dinner kind of attire. So it's very important to think about that. And if you can, wool suits look better. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're also going to last longer as well. Women, of course, this is outside my subject area that I know on hand, but women have a lot more options for interviewing than men do. It's basically the suits. So you can't do a conservative suit, Try to avoid really trendy styles. Again, colors are very similar to men. If you do go with a skirt or dress along the lines, you do want it to be about knee length or maybe just a little longer than your knees. And then pantsuits are very acceptable as well. In fact, it becomes much more acceptable in the interviewing circles now for women. It doesn't have to be just pants or skirts. I mean, pants or dresses or skirts. As far as the shirts go, definitely want a long sleeve shirt for guys. And it can be collared, this is of course very important. The collar can be buttoned. It's become more acceptable to have that. It doesn't have to be just the loose ones. But you want to think about your colors. Typically some light blues, some whites, nothing too flashy. What I mean is pinks or maybe a yellow or something. It might not be real appropriate for an interview. Of course, longer, make sure they're clean. Maybe even taking them to a dry cleaner, having them pressed. Having them pressed, and then it's going to give you a much better impression to what the interviewer. Again, with your sleeves, your shirt should come up and you should have about an inch below your cuff of your shirt, of your coat. And then I do encourage you to wear a t-shirt. Guys, wear a t-shirt under your shirt, particularly if you are someone who sweats. That will help. And also I'll give you a tip because I always have, my shirts tend to rise up out of behind my pants. If you tuck your t-shirt in and then your shirt in, it's going to help keep your shirt from rising up behind you. Ladies, still encourage you to go to long sleeves. I have seen some short sleeves, probably even in the summer. I know it's warmer. I still would encourage you to go to long sleeves, but I have seen some clothing that you could do with short sleeves. And again, the spectrum of the color, but I would probably encourage you to still stay with the men. It's stay conservative, stay traditional with the whites and ivories, some pale blues. But again, depending on who you're interviewing with, you can show a little bit of color, but I just wouldn't overdo it. Shoes. It'd be great to have leather shoes for men. And you're typically getting to have black or brown shoes. And of course, polished. In this kind of weather right now, it's very difficult to keep clean shoes. So I would generally encourage you can buy, even at the dollar store, you can have a little inexpensive shoe polish kit that you can get to keep your shoes before you walk in. I've met recruiters who that's one of the first things they do is they look at their feet, see what kind of shoes they're wearing. But you can do some slip-ons. They become a little bit more acceptable with slip-on shoes, but typically lace-up shoes are going to be the best and more preferred for men. Ladies, you have a lot more choices with shoes, and we won't go into that too much as far as women in shoes, but we know you like shoes. Most important thing is, think about your appearance and how you're walk around, and particularly find out during the interview, will there be a lot of walking around during the interview? Because you don't want to be wearing big heels if you know you're going to be taking a very long tour. You don't want to get uncomfortable. Now, I have had an individual who a recruiter prepared them and said, bring some flats along with you. And so inside your purse or something, you can slip in another pair of shoes so you can switch out of your heels and into something that's more comfortable to take with you. But you definitely want to find out what the day is going to look like when you're going for the interview. But I would strongly encourage you to keep away from multicolored shoes and even open-toed shoes. I would encourage you to try to have closed-toed shoes, particularly if you are walking. You would hate to stub your toes, particularly just before an interview. So. Men with your socks, typically you're going to have black, maybe a dark blue or gray, a brown. Again, you want to take this in consideration of what you're wearing, and particularly the shoe color you're wearing, and your belts. I know it sounds funny to say this, men, but we do need to coordinate. Ladies are much better than this than the guys are, but it is important to match. And have matching socks. If you're colorblind, have somebody make sure they look at this, because I have interviewed someone who had 2 different colored pairs of socks on. So it is important to think about that. And they should be long enough so that if you cross your legs, the socks are still underneath the cuff of your pants. Tube and athletic socks are never acceptable, so especially with dress shoes, but stay away from those athletic socks. Women, again, this is outside my area, but stockings tend to be more neutral, or black if you're wearing a black suit. But use with your skin tones and your colors. Just choose something that is appropriate and professional. Try not to wear any of the heavy white, wear the tights, the thick tights and that. You do want to keep it, even though I know you're trying to stay warm, it may not come across as professional. Also, this is something that Sherry put in here. You may want to have a backup pair with you just in case you do get a run in it or something. You don't want to have to run to a drugstore or something. So I have seen that happen before too. Accessories. For men, briefcases and portfolios are appropriate. And they should be leather and clean as much as possible. They don't try not to have something that's too multicolored. And you want to try to avoid your backpacks as possible. Belts, again, going back to what I said earlier, should complement your shoes. So I try to be very, black belt, black shoes, just make sure it matches. Simple buckle. Don't need a big rhinestone buckle on your belt. Keep it very simple and professional. Also your watch. And actually most individuals now don't even wear watches. And it's been funny, I've been wearing a watch now for about 2 years. But most people don't wear watches, but if you do, you want to keep it something simple. Doesn't have to be the huge, really, what am I trying to say, ornate kind of watch. Handkerchiefs, I don't see that very often, but every once in a while you could have a handkerchief in your pocket. Should try to coordinate with your tie. And then, depending on where you're interviewing, you want to try to avoid some of your religious necklaces and such, because if you're interviewing with a company that may be of secular nature, that may be an immediate, the consideration of you getting that position or not. So definitely keep that in mind. Women, your purses, want to encourage you, don't have big, bulky kind of purses. Keep something very simple for the interview. You can have your big bag out in the car, but try to keep your purse small and compact. And keep your colors, again, you guys know how to coordinate, but keep it simple and within acceptable. Again, you can't use a briefcase, but I'm going to encourage you, don't use a briefcase and a very, a large, purse as well. It's just overkill, especially if you're trying to shake people's hand and get all those things in your hands. It could be awkward. And again, complement, just having your accessories complement each other. As far as jewelry goes, this is always more of a big one for women than it is for men. Have one ring on each hand, or just or none at all if you can do it without. You can't have your wedding ring on your hand, of course. Again, avoid the big watch. Cufflinks. I never actually have ever worn a pair of cufflinks. Chad, have you? For your wedding. But actually, now you say that, I think I did have some for my wedding. But it really is not that common, I don't think, a lot, but again, couplings are appropriate, but you want to keep them something simple, not too, again, flashy. And then remove piercings. And what I'm talking about there is nose rings or even your earrings. I think it's become a little bit more acceptable, and depending on where you're interviewing, for guys to have an earring. That would probably encourage you to think about that. Go with more of a stud earring. Again, if you can't, try to just go without it. Women, again, women like to have a lot more jewelry than men, and so keeping that in mind. Don't wear a lot. In fact, less is better. Again, restrict your rings. Think about earrings. We want to encourage you, don't wear big, dangly earrings. Keep something kind of simple hoop or a simple stud will be appropriate. The same with the necklace. Try not to get anything that's too ornate or flashy. It's just a simple chain is appropriate. Avoiding some chain bracelets. And I've seen that in an interview. It sounds like bells ringing or something. So try to avoid that as much as possible. And again, flashy or faddish kind of jewelry. And then again, piercings. Keep that in mind. And as that goes, it goes along with the tattoo. When I know it's personal hygiene, but I thought it was tattoos was next. You want to keep that in mind of who your audience is, who you're interviewing with, and what's appropriate for them. Personal hygiene, this should go without saying, but you definitely do want to shower before the morning before your interview. Shave, particularly if you know it's an environment you want to make a great impression. And your face, and trim your mustaches and beards if you need to. Ladies' legs, I know this is somewhat uncomfortable, but and then try to avoid extreme hair color, dyes. I have seen some try to color their hair or get rid of that color out of their hair before an interview. So do the best you can. If you know something's coming up, avoid that. Women, I know like to try to get them with hair color. So again, try to keep that in mind of who your audience is and what's appropriate. Tattoos. As I said earlier, you want to know who your environment is. I know I've worked with an employer who worked at a bank. They require all tattoos to be covered. So then another employer who worked for a government agency said tattoos are appropriate. So if you do want to, I would probably encourage you to just cover them all up before the interview. Play it safe than sorry. And again, ask what their policy is. Cologne for men, body sprays. I've had this happen in a previous institution. The student went in for an interview with an employer. He had just a little bit too much of that body cologne kind of spray stuff. And you know what I'm talking about? You smelled it probably, but somebody walked by you and go, okay, I can smell them. That's what happened in this interview, and the lady actually had sort of a mild type of asthma attack because she could not breathe in the interview room. So less is best, as I said earlier. The same with women and perfumes. And keep it natural as far as your makeup goes. Again, you don't need a lot of makeup on you. In fact, it's probably less is best, as I said earlier. Keep it natural. Lipstick and nail polish should be neutral. I think I've seen some ladies in some interviews use some red and that, but nothing real bright kind of colors. And again, nail length, and this would probably go, particularly for men, your nails should be trimmed and short. Ladies, you can get away with a little bit more of a longer fingernail than men. So, without further ado, I would like us to bring out some models. And this is where you get to participate as well. We're going to show me what they did well and what they can do better. So our first model, Stephanie Edwards. She's a junior comm major. So, before I say anything, what kind of feedback do you have for Stephanie? She's our first model. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you see? Blue stockings. Did go with no heels, that's great. Do you like blue stockings or no? You don't. I think they go very well with the top, though. It does coordinate. Any other feedback? You know what I didn't talk about? No, I can talk about it now. Hair. Generally, especially for women, if you do have longer hair, strongly encourage you to pull it back behind your face so we can actually see your face. It's important that way. Again, eye contact is very important. Necklace, very simple necklace with pearl earring. Next we have Mitch. Mitch is a freshman, the business administration major. So what do you know about Mitch? So, feedback on Mitch. There's a lot of smiles and giggles. Who wants to be the first one to be the obvious? Lydia?
I said everything.
Everything?
Everything from his clothes to his attitude.
I'm sorry?
I said everything from his clothes to his attitude.
His clothes to his attitude. Attitude in what sense?
I mean, the way he walked is very cocky. I'm sure of himself.
Very happy. What about his coat? Doesn't go with what he's wearing.
Yeah.
Nice to appreciate himself. Keeps himself organized. Probably not settling with the headphones.
Oh, so
Any other feedback from Mitch? Don't think he'd get hired. Probably not even for a lifeguard position. Thank you, Mitch. And that generally would bring me to another suggestion with my last tip would be, you should always dress one step above the position you're applying for. So even if it is a lifeguard position, you want to dress appropriately. So we have DJ Williams, our junior, So what kind of feedback do you have for DJ? We got some giggles and feedback. Who's the team? Granted, just a little bit. It is a little bit about it. Any other feedback, comments, thoughts?
there's tights instead of bows.
Yes, the tights. Nice basic shoes. Good. Simple earring. Any other? What do anything you like?
The colors are very loud.
Yes, it's true. I do like the colors there. Great. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Next comment. Some of you already planned it. This house is coming. Sophomore, business administrator as well. Doing a great job. Welcome to the room. So, feedback for Tom. Guys, feedback for Tom. Very fun. Sure. What do you think? Yeah, it's not solid. That's true. Probably could use a little bit of a press. Iron.
I was going to say it's good, but it's still more casual than business. It's a loose collar shirt if you want that way.
Correct. So hopefully you're getting the point that there's some things that you can do well, and things that you can improve on, just little subtle things that you can see how the appearance makes a big deal. Wait a minute. What about his, can we point out his accessories real quick? Shoes? Don't match. Lori's here. Teacher, special ed. Which doesn't fall. So, feedback for Lori. Hearing her phone.
Her shoes are open toe.
Open toe,
And then very colorful.
and you're very colorful.
They match her shirt though.
But they- She was very
No,
proud.
this one.
Her jeans, that's, yes, the first giveaway is those jeans. Probably not the best thing. What about her purse? It's okay,
That's
right there on the
medium
border.
size.
A medium-sized purse. I don't know what's large. Necklace is basic. Nice hoop earrings. Not sure about the piercing. That's all the deal point. Yes. So, and fitting photo. Probably won't get the job. Okay, who got it? We got Kelly Maxwell, our junior. She's the marketing major. So what do you like about Kelly? Just chance to work the room. So, feedback on Kelly.
His hair,
What about his hair?
phenomenal.
It is borderline. It is stylish. It's not a huge Mr. T, but what about the suit? I heard somebody talk about the suit. This is my example of a black suit. Still looks very professional, but it does have just that slight little pinstripe in there. And if you notice, the pinstripe does match the light blue shirt that he's wearing and the tie. Accessories, nice portfolio briefcase, nice polished shoes. I'm talking too much. What do you guys?
Is that a pager?
Galaxy S3.
Oh. Never heard pagers in a long time. Facial hair, you can't see too much from either closer up. I can see just might need a little trim. But overall, would you hire her? And we got some no's. Why no?
The hair.
The hair. The hair fucking good job, Kelly. All right. Thank you, sir. Next model, Caleb Brandon. I want to embarrass her by saying it was a last minute fill in. So, what do you see about Caleb? She's good. Got some head nodding with that. What do you like?
Her shirt.
For sure.
Match.
What's matching? It is. Sweater's appropriate. And I think that this time, just for a moment, to talk about for ladies, and not that Kayla's is wrong, but I just thought about with blouses. It is something to think about where your blouse is cut and how low they're cut as well. I mean, again, you wanted to keep that in mind while you're interviewing. So, overall, great. You did a great job. Our last model is Michael Forsythe, senior special ed. They've all done a great job not falling so far. So what do you think about Michael? Nice haircut. Sorry, Kelly. What else do you notice, or what do you like, or differently? You notice the watch, and is that a good notice or a bad notice? A little bit.
But it does match, the color does match.
It does match. What do you think about the sweater? If you don't have a coat or sport coat, the sweater could be appropriate, but keep you warm. It's not necessarily bad. I didn't throw that in the presentation, but essentially not a bad thing. It does match. The pants would be great with the pants. Nice white shirt. Good teacher attire. So would you hire? Maybe. Briefcase is good. So, thank you. Well, actually, why don't you stay up here? Let's bring up our other models quickly, just to say thank you. I know it takes a lot to volunteer. Again, if you could just show your appreciation, maybe you can just come along the sides. You're on point. Again, I want to thank each of our models, and please help me to thank them for their.